Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Oklahoma City Water Utilities Trust. We do have a quorum. First order of business is to approve the minutes of the December 4, 2018 meeting, and I'd recognize a motion to that effect.
Move the minutes.
It's moved and seconded. We'll vote. Approved. Next, we have the consent docket. A number of items. Would recognize a motion that it be approved subject to individual consideration.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? We'll vote. Approved. Next, we have the concurrence docket. I would recognize a motion to approve that subject to individual consideration.
So moved.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Any individual considerations? Seeing none, we'll vote. Approved. Item number 5, items for individual consideration. First off, we are going to do number C, and then we'll come back to A and B. Number C is a resolution agreeing to file application with the Oklahoma Water Resources Board for financial assistance through the Clean Water State Revolving Fund Loan Program for the purpose of financing the expansion and improvement of the Trust's facilities and containing other provisions thereto. I'd recognize a motion to approve that.
Move approval. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. This is item number 1 under C.
Mr. Chairman, we're going to have a presentation on all of these.
Oh, okay.
And then the vote, if you don't mind.
We're going to defer the vote until we have a presentation. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Billy Little is here.
Didn't know that.
To give you a briefing on items C1, 2, 3, and 4 collectively.
Good afternoon, Chairman and Trustees. This is just a quick update on our borrowing plans from the 2019 State Revolving Loan Funds. State Revolving Loan Funds is a federally established program that is managed by states. The Oklahoma Water Resources Board manages the program in the state of Oklahoma, and they have 2 programs, the Oklahoma Drinking Water Program and the Oklahoma Clean Water Program. The Drinking Water Program, we fund water projects out of them, and then the Clean Water Program, we fund wastewater and raw water projects both. Funding is limited annually. The Oklahoma Water Resources Board allocates funding to different communities around the state after they do an analysis of how much funding is available. From time to time, communities will move projects to another year or not utilize their funding, and then they do a reallocation, which we've taken advantage of many years, including last year. So you say, why SRF? Well, first of all, Aquit's financial plan calls for 60% debt financing and 40% cash funding from pay-as-you-go net revenues available. And then out of that 60% that we plan on funding from debt, we'd like to do the first borrowings from the State Revolving Fund to take advantage of benefits and savings of the program, which I'll talk about now. The benefits of the program are, the 2 main benefits are low interest rate. The interest rate is slightly lower than Aquit's. The Water Resources Board's AAA, Aquit's AAA, but it's slightly lower than Aquit's because it's a federally subsidized program. But the main benefits, there's no reserve fund required for state revolving fund loans. And a reserve fund is just required by our bond indenture, and you set aside a full year of principal and interest payments in an escrow that's outstanding for the life of the bonds. A quick example would be if we needed to borrow $60 million to fund projects. With SRF, we would only end up borrowing exactly $60 million. But with revenue bonds, we'd fund about approximately $64.5 million, which the $4.5 million difference is funding the debt service escrow. And it also has annual savings of estimated about $515,000 a year less in debt service payments. On the next slide is the drinking water summary list of projects. The total estimate for the projects is $25.7 million. The initial loan amount, or the capacity available that the water boards told us they have, is $20 million to fund these projects. So with that estimate, it's projected that we would spend about $5.7 million, the difference, in the commercial paper program. The resolution recommends a $30 million not to exceed amount. And the reason for that is, as I mentioned, as projects get moved around and funding becomes available, there's an opportunity that we could fund and take advantage of the savings of the program, the extra 5.7, or even add a project up to the $30 million amount. The next slide on the clean water list of projects, it's a little different here, but it's for the exact same reasons. $34.1 million is the project amount, project estimated amount. The loan amount's $37.5 million, which contains a 10% contingency per SRF rules. And so that allows for, if projects come in a little higher or bid higher, we could still take advantage of the savings of the program. The recommended resolution amount on this one's $50 million, which is the total amount of available funds that the Water Board says they have for us. So if, for the same reason, if staff's able to identify additional projects eligible for SRF during the year, we could take advantage of those savings as well. And that's, any questions about anything?
Are there any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
First order of business then will be to vote on C1. I'd recognize a motion to that effect. There's moved and seconded. We'll vote. Approved. Second item, which requires 4 affirmative votes for approval. I'd recognize a motion for that, number 2.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll vote, and there are 4 votes affirmative. Item 3 is a resolution agreeing to file the application with the Water Resources Board for financial assistance through the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund Loan Program. I'd recognize a motion for approval. It's been moved and seconded. We'll vote. Approved. Final item, number 4, is the resolution approving and authorizing the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund loan from the Oklahoma Water Resources Board in the total aggregate principal amount not to exceed $30 million, and approving the issuance of the promissory note in the principal amount not to exceed $30 million, secured by a subordinate lien pledge of revenues, and authorizing its execution, and so forth. I would recognize a motion to approve this resolution.
Move approval.
It's been moved. Is there a second? Moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll vote. It's approved. So we finished that number C, and we'll go back to number A. Next, we're being asked to receive the engineering report from MacArthur Associated Consultants, LLC, project number WC0922. Is there anything that needs to be discussed here?
Mr. Chairman, we're going to have a brief presentation on this project from Nathan Mattenwald from our engineering group.
Good afternoon, Chairman and Trustees. Yeah, this will be a brief presentation on Project WC922, which was the water meter evaluation we did for the FAA Mike Monroney Aeronautical Center complex. We'll do a brief background on location and the current configuration, talk about the need for the evaluation modifications, look at the 2 options we looked at for the study, for a retail system and a modified master meter system, and then look at the benefits of the recommended option. So to kind of orient where this location's at, here's the Will Rogers complex. You can see in yellow the Will Rogers World Airport. To the northwest in green is the Oklahoma Air National Guard Center. And then in the purple is the FAA Mike Monroney Aeronautical Center, which was the focus of our study. And adjacent to that are 2 different entities that receive water service through their complex, which is the Federal Transfer Center, and then also the FAA Southwest Region small site on the south end of the purple area. So you can see this is the area we're talking about with the study here. So if we look at the way the current water and wastewater system is for the site, it's a master metered complex currently, but Utilities Department has been providing operations and maintenance of the systems on the private side of the meter. So the yellow dots that are shown are the water meters that are used for measuring water that's coming into the complex or one of their buildings, and the green dots are what is to deduct flows that are not being used by the FAA. Some of those are for the Federal Transfer Center, the Southwest FAA Southwest Region on the south side, and then flow can also leave their system to the north. So as you can see, this is not a normal situation that we would have. Typically, water would flow through a meter and then serve the customer, and it would stay there. So on the wastewater side, we have a unique situation as well. Since we don't have water meters at each point of use, We had wastewater meters that would measure flow coming into the complex, and then one that measures it coming out. So we would take the outflow and then deduct the inflows to get a net wastewater volume. Problem with that is some of the challenges that everybody has with wastewater meters, that they're not inaccurate. So we'd spend a lot of time maintaining those and not getting as accurate readings. So what this means is on the private side of the system, there was about 13 miles of water system and about 7 miles of wastewater system that are currently being maintained by the utilities department on the private side. So what are the challenges with this, and why do we do this study? FAA has mandates by the federal government to track water usage and reduce operating costs. They're not able to track where water is being used in the campus, which buildings are using it. Operation, maintenance, and repair replacement on the private side doesn't fit within our current service categories. And then difficulties and confusion with billing. Aggregation of meters for net billing. It's a very complex thing that we don't have to do for typical customers. We would receive requests for credits for overflows, main breaks, or leaks, and then also the wastewater billing difficulties. So the two options we looked at, again, were retail system, and then option 2 was a modified master meter system. So on the retail system, what we'd look at doing is, here's the current situation that you see here with the meters. What we would be able to do is take off the locations where we have master meters, and then the deduct meters would then just become normal service meters. The water system inside the complex that we would normally be ours would become part of Oklahoma City's water system. The wastewater system would become part of Oklahoma City's wastewater system. And then we would install at those red dots, where all those red dots are, those are the point of use. So we would install water meters at those locations. It's about 74 meters in total for the complex, estimated capital cost of a little over $1.5 million. Option number 2, you take the master meter complex in, rather than having flow go through their system to another entity, we would have to extend the water system to serve the Federal Transfer Center and the FAA Southwest region. So the estimated capital cost for that extension is about $2.9 million. And so the options or the benefits of option 1 is it's a lower cost option than option 2. It's the ability for FAA to track water usage at their individual points of use, so that way they can meet the executive orders that they need to for conservation. The service would fit within that particular rate class, or within Aqua's typical rate classes, and then there would be no additional O&M or capital costs for the FAA complex. They would just be part of their normal rates. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you guys have regarding the study.
Any questions? Thank you. Recognize a motion to approve this item.
Move approval. Second.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye. I don't mean that. I mean that. Excuse me. Next item is, so we finished A and B. We've got C. So, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Is there a presentation on the Draper Marina?
Yes, sir. Mallory Gosher is here to talk about the 3 projects that we're planning at the Draper Marina facilities.
Good afternoon. I'm going to cover the first project at Draper at the marina. This picture is actually from the marina after a rainfall event this summer. And you can see there's a lot of runoff and erosion happening there. So a little bit of background, a lack of vegetation, compacted and eroded soils, exposed soils have really led to runoff and erosion at the site. There's some steep slopes creating additional issues around the Draper Marina. The soil was tested recently and it had very low organic matter and nutrients, so there's not a lot holding that soil there on the site. There's some drainage issues. Poor grading is causing water to run around to the concrete areas. There's some stressed and damaged trees and stumps that have been left at the location also. Oops. So the project area I have highlighted in blue. It's around the marina. It's a little more than 5 acres, and it includes the breakwater area. And you can actually see from the map how eroded the soil is underneath those trees. So the plan is to restore the soil using compost to improve the quality of the soil in that area so that it can grow vegetation. We're going to install native and adapted plants on the site so that it can filter and have additional root structure to keep that soil in place. There's plans for a walking path to help slow down the water and also reduce sediment runoff. So there's plants along that pathway to help filter out any sediment that does get lost. And it also is a good demonstration of a functional water-smart landscape, and it also serves the purpose of protecting the reservoir's water quality. So this is a rendering concept of the project put together by Guernsey, and so you can see where the walking path goes and has those filter strips with the planting around the pathway. There's also going to be a dry creek bed to help get water to where it needs to go correctly instead of running off of the slope and down into the reservoir. So that's all I have. If you have any questions, I'm happy to take those.
Are there any questions?
And then Larry's going to talk about the other projects at Draper.
You're on.
Thank you. In conjunction with the projects that Mallory is working on, we've got a drainage improvement project here on the north side of the point where the erosion control project will be, because we have some a large amount of water puddling in the parking lot in several different areas. One of the main issues is that there is an existing culvert that runs along the side of the parking lot that has been filled in due to the erosion coming off of the point. So in order to correct that, we're going to build 2 new concrete flumes in this area. This will draw water to go to this particular culvert to bring to the lake here, and this one will bring water from the parking lot and surrounding area to this point right here. We're also going to add additional parking striping in this area, including ADA parking, and we're also going to address the puddling issue right here by regrading this asphalt in order to direct the flow of water going to this flume right here. We anticipate the completion of this project to be done by February 20th of next year. A side project that is not on the list, but this is kind of like a sneak peek, is that we're going to add additional parking and a new road along on the south side of the point. We're going to add about 55 new parking spaces and some ADA spaces, as well as improve some drainage in this area with 2 new flumes. And this road will be a two-way road that abuts against the recently completed trails here in the Draper area. We anticipate awarding this contract in February and then completing it in May of next year. Now on to the what we call the star of the show is the actual marina building itself. These are interim improvements that bring the building up to code. Several highlights that we're going to be doing to this building is to replace the entire ceiling, upgrade the HVAC, and to renovate or rehabilitate the bathrooms inside. On the exterior of the building, we're going to provide improved parking on these 2 sides and then improved pavement improvements here, as well as sidewalk and pathway improvements to meet ADA compliance. We anticipate this project to be completed by April of next year. And with that, I can take any questions.
Are there any questions?
Mr. Chairman, these are few of a number of projects that we are planning for Draper. If you recall the first photograph that Mallory put up, the color of the water was pretty bad. There were a number of roadways along the lake bed that we've closed. We're getting a lot of erosion and sediment coming down from the hill where the concession stand is located, plus the parking area is inadequate in 2 ways. One, it's too small, and so people are parking on the dirt. 2 is it's severely deteriorated. So we're getting a lot of sediment into the lake. That causes our treatment costs to go up significantly. So if you notice the later pictures that Larry was showing, the water color is pretty clear. When it doesn't rain, the color of the water coming from southeast Oklahoma is really good. And here lately, the lake's been relatively clear. So we need to continue these soil erosion projects to make sure that we keep the sediment out of the lake so that our treatment costs are reduced. So all of these are actually going to be funded through ratepayer dollars, not through non-rate dollars, with the exception of the upgrade to the concession stand, so that we can lower our operating costs and improve the integrity of the lake. So these are just two of several projects that we have developed to help in that regard.
Thank you. I would recognize a motion to approve item 5B, 1, 2, and 3. So moved. It's been moved. It's moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll vote. Approved. Any items from trustees?
Other than to wish everybody happy holidays and a Merry Christmas, because we won't see you until next year.
Thank you. Moving to the general manager report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Couple of things. You'll notice the lake levels are pretty high. That is not a typo on McGee Creek. It's about 7 feet above full pool. The rains last week filled it up. As a matter of fact, we checked the gauges to make sure because it came up so fast. We've been trying to keep Atoka down about 5 feet, but we're failing in our mission. Mother Nature keeps filling it up, but the project is still going forward, the spillway improvement project. Second item is the Performa. We've had a relatively cool, wet year. Some months we've set record low temperatures and record rainfall. And with that, our water sales are down a bit. Our expenses are on target, but because of the water sales being down a bit, we have about a $4 million negative delta at this point in time. We're going to monitor. We're not doing too bad because of our capital program. We've been getting some pretty decent pricing, but we will continue monitoring and make adjustments accordingly if revenues continue to be low. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions? Any citizens to be heard? Seeing none, we are adjourned.